Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my NRG Valorant rebuild, my second of my Americas rebuild. I guess technically third if you count the loud one that I did, but that was a few weeks ago, so um, I'm just going to count these ones as the first ones. But yeah, pretty interesting team to rebuild today. Should be fun to get into it, but if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to have a huge series on these. We got one more Americas team after this and a bunch of EMEA teams after that. And then, or I don't know if I'll do Pacific first or EMEA first, but still, we have a bunch of teams in both of those regions. So it should be very interesting to get into. And yeah, so stay tuned for all that kind of stuff. Go follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting updates about this series pretty constantly and kind of reacting to a bunch of off-season news, giving my thoughts on those moves and stuff like that. That being said, let's get right into the video. So before we get into any actual roster construction talk, we do have to talk about what they did in 2024, where they replaced FNS Salmon Artist with Marv, Demon One, and Ethan, which largely was considered an upgrade. Obviously, did not pan out that way. They went third and fourth in America's kickoff. They made playoffs, lost to Sentinels in kind of honestly a game that I thought they should have won. They went 3-3 in stage one, missed playoffs, looked really disappointing. And specifically in terms of the calling, which, I mean, everyone thought this team would be perfectly fine at, with Vic, Ethan, Crashies, Marv, all those players. I mean, including me, honestly, but it did not pan out that way. So they replaced Marv and Demon One with FNS and Som, bringing them back. And then they just got off to a slow start, 1-3 in stage two, ended up missing playoffs again, which I think was less disappointing. I thought that was kind of the expectation for the team going into stage two, even though I thought they would still be. I mean, I thought they would look good by the end of it, which I thought they did, honestly. But yeah, in terms of the goal for this new roster is to be one of the best teams in Americas in 2025. So we do got to take some risks with this team. I think this is probably the most risky team that I'm building, but I do think it's also very good. So we'll be removing two players here, Victor and Crashies. Victor was removed in real life. Crashies, I mean, we'll just, I don't know. I don't know why I do this slide, actually, now that I think about it, but honestly, it's not that bad. We'll just move on. We'll go straight to Victor. He was cut in real life, and I'm kind of trying to keep this a little realistic, but also I think there's better options for players that play like him. So we're going to go try to find one of those guys. Like, I still think he's a really good player. I just think, again, they need to try somebody else. Just get a new guy in here. Maybe somebody who plays a little bit more jet. Maybe somebody who opts a little bit more, even though I think Victor is extremely underrated in those categories. As well as Crashies, who I think in a similar vein to Victor is a really good player. And I think he's even been a lot. I think he's even been better than Victor, but just kind of time to move on, maybe. And I think there's also some role clash within this team with him and Ethan. And I want to kind of clean that up a little bit. And yeah, he just ends up being the odd man out between him and Ethan. And I just thought, I guess I'll say it now. I'm moving Ethan to more of a like just pure initiator role. Maybe what Crashies was playing with a bit of breach. Maybe FNS can play a little bit of scan or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, Crashies ends up being the odd man out there, and it was between him and Ethan who I would cut. And I thought Ethan generally is just the better player, so I'm gonna go with him over Crashies. So yeah, we already talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to be moving FNX to Flex, where he's going to be playing a lot of Viper, maybe some KO, maybe some like Fade like he's played in the past. All stuff like that, maybe some Gecko even. And Ethan's going to be moving to more of a Sova initiator role, or FNS could pick up the scan stuff and Ethan could play the same stuff he's been playing for 2 years now. I think either way, you do have two really good players there. I mean, not really good players, but good options on both of those roles. It doesn't feel great taking Ethan off of that like pure like flash initiator role, but I still think he'd be really good at the other stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Either way, you can think about it either way, whatever you want. I'd just leave it to the team to figure that out. Obviously, it's not what they're doing in real life, but I think it'll be fine. Honestly, I did not even talk about what we need. I just yapped about FNS and Ethan. But yeah, we need a duelist player and we need a sentinel player. So in terms of available players, in terms of duelist, you have Mata, Koala Noob, Sim, and Penny. Penny less so. I think he was just the name that I threw on here. And then for sentinel players, you have Dapper, a Proto, and Yay, who has been playing a lot of sentinel and ranked apparently. So I just kind of threw him in here. So first up here, we have Mata, who I think is a very, very similar player in style to Victor. He can play all three duelists, Jet, Raze, and Neon. I think his Jet is a little bit better as well, but he used to be a flex player. Now on full-time duelist, kind of has been improving for a couple years now, and now he looks very, very good. He also played a little bit of Reyna as well, which I didn't mention. You'd like him to maybe pick up some Yoru, but Ethan's played quite a bit of that, so if they want to play like double duelist Yoru, Mata can just play the Raze or whatever, along with Ethan on the Yoru, which I think would actually look pretty good. And yeah, I just think he's a really solid duelist player that should be pretty good for a team. Has a lot of experience within NA. Obviously, like playing a lot of like initiator stuff. He played like secondary duelist back in the day. Like how many maps has he played? Yeah, he's like 178 maps on Raze, 109 on Jet, 50 on Sky, and then like hovering around like 40 for a few agents, 30 on a few. So like he's played a lot of rounds for multiple different teams. So I think he should be able to slot into this team and kind of pick up where they left off with Dirk or not Durka, fuck, with Victor. And yeah, be pretty good. Obviously, Durka could be an option for this team in real life. I don't have him ending up as that in this world, but I obviously would take Durka over Mata if he is available. And now we have Demon One, who in this world, technically I didn't pick him up on NRG since he's already on a contract for the team. But I still wanted to make a video about NRG because I think this is one of the more interesting teams in terms of rebuilding. I was trimming all season for him to be put on more Sentinel roles. Like when they would play Vic on the Raze, he goes to play maybe a Cypher or Killjoy or something like that. He played it for EG a little bit. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, that map for EG was the worst thing in the world, but I don't think he was the reasoning for that. I think it was just the comp around him. And yeah, I just think he would be so good on that role with like he plays Jet on Jet maps and then plays Sentinel on Raze maps or something like that, or plays Sentinel on Neon maps or something like that. I think he'd still be good when he just plays Sentinel on every map as well. It'd help him improve faster, I think. But the only issue I do have with this pickup, I guess, is that there's really no way to get him onto the Jet because Mata doesn't really play that much of the Sentinel stuff, and I don't think he'd be very good at it. He has played like 17 maps at Killjoy. He has never played Cypher. Maybe you could get some weird role swap to get it to happen, but honestly, I'm just not like maybe FNS goes back to Sentinel for a map and Mata goes to Flex or something like that. Maybe that's possible, but that'd be the only way. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep him on the Sentinel for this team and let Mata just play duelist on every map. And I think that would be a very good process for this team. Just have Mata be that selfless entry player, let Ethan Som go in and trade, as well as FNS throwing utility, and then Demon One can kind of clean stuff up and clutch and everything like that, which I think he would be very good at. So this will be our final roster. We have Mata on the duelist, FNS on the flex / IGL. He has played this in the past. I think maybe like early NRG in 2023, it did not look good. But that was probably because it was kind of rushed. It was kind of rushed role swap coming out of lock-in. I think with a whole offseason of practice with this team, I think that would be very good for him. Same thing with Ethan. I think a lot of his Sova stuff in the past was also very rushed. And I mean, former Potter initiators like Calm, Ethan, Derek, I think all end up having very, very good supportive utility. Uh, so yeah, I think Ethan should be fine on that Sova role, or FNS could play it. Either way, I think it'd be fine. Sam, just pretty solid player on the smokes. Shouldn't have too many bad games for you. I think he started pretty bad when he came back to NRG this year, but I think settled in was really good. And then obviously Demon One we did talk about. But I do think there's two things with this team that people aren't going to like as much. And that's FNS being on the flex, Ethan being on the initiator. I think that's kind of one thing. And then Demon One being on the Sentinel. I've already talked a lot about Demon One. I do want to talk a little bit more about the FNS stuff though, because when Optic was at their best, when FNS was at his best, was when FNS would play like the initiator flex stuff. And I think his individual play has been the best when he's played like Breach, Viper. I mean, he's not played. I mean, Sky, I guess, as well, when he played it on Pearl, like against Lev that game, he was, in terms of just the shooting, he was farming. I think some of the actual individual play wasn't as good, but like he played some Fade. I thought he's looked his best on that kind of stuff. So maybe if he plays some Sova or something like that, maybe he'd be shooting a little bit better on that too. So I don't know. I think he'd be fine in this role. Like I still think he would be FNS the individual in terms of just not being good most of the time. But I think it's their best option, as well as having him with the pack a little bit more, which I think is something that he would want himself to be a better caller. So with that, this is our final roster. I already went over everything with it, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. And I will see you in the next one for my Cloud9 rebuild. And then it's on to just the full Americas recap. I still don't know what region I'm doing next, but should be very interesting either way. I do think Pacific and EMEA are far more interesting in terms of rebuilds than Americas are. So again, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.